Hello everyone and welcome to the Hobby Guard, where we shamelessly and aggressively nerd out about our passions. In today's video I will be discussing the reveal from last week that Lionel Johnson, along with the very uh, paranoid DARKANGELS, are gonna be making an appearance in the video game Dawn of War 4, the upcoming video game. Now I will have some footage playing in the background here in slow motion of that trailer, just because I really have no time today to edit this video, but I did want to get this video out there. Now, I will be talking about some good things, some bad things about that release. In regards to the news came out to overwhelming, I would say, positive. The news came out to an overwhelmingly positive reaction from the community, the Warhammer community, so to speak, or the Dawn of War community. That being said, there have been a few concerns raised by some members of said community, right? Mainly, I have in mind YouTubers like, I think Arch said something about it, and I don't remember particularly whether the Northern Exile might have mentioned something about it too. I don't know, I watch so much Warhammer 40k content that everything just blurs together. But regardless, I will hopefully do an okay job, somewhat, of addressing those concerns. I do have my own views on it. And before we jump into that, two things. First of all, I want to thank everyone that commented on my Dawn of War reaction video. I got 3 very thoughtful comments. I really enjoyed just seeing that people are actually interested in this game and they're actually interested in the lore, and that I'm not just talking into an empty vacuum. You know, one of those comments was about that guy that's on screen right now, that war boss. He said he looks like he might be from the Snakebite. He might be a Snakebite orc, and that's definitely something I have to look into, because as an Imperium simp, I do not know much about orcs other than what you can read in the Imperium books, basically. So apologies for that. But another correction that I got in that previous video is I said that this is the first time that a first founding chapter makes an appearance in a Dawn of War game, and I did get corrected in that. Apparently they were in the one of the DLC, or the expansions rather, for Dawn of War 1. So there is that correction as well. As I mentioned before, I have not played those expansions in Dawn of War 1. I've played very little Dawn of War 1, so I'll definitely be trying to do that eventually, now that I did buy it for PC, the new remastered version that they released. That sounded weird the way I said it with my accent. Remastered version. Thank you. I hope the mic didn't play any tricks on your ears there. So yeah, I do have to play that. So apologies for my mistake. That being said, the second thing I want to say before addressing the main topic of today's video is, I want you guys to know, and this is important for what is to come, I need you to understand that I am a Dark Angels fan, okay? For proof, I have here 2 of my miniatures of my very large Dark Angels army that is back there, that I'm still in the process of collecting and painting, and have been for a few years. So we got our little sergeant here with the power sword. These I got from the old, which wasn't easy to get, but the old Dark Angels Combat Patrol. And here we have a heavily kit bashed Dark Angels Deathwing Terminator, which again wasn't. I realize with this camera you can't see it very well, but again, it wasn't easy to make, because I had to kit bash it using the old Deathwing Knight bits. So, and I got that off of a different box set that I had to, it was very hard to find for me, which was like the Vanguard Veterans, I think they're called, or the Dark Angel Veterans. I don't even remember. I have the box back there. My point is, and the reason I'm saying this is because I need you to understand how much I love the Dark Angels. Now, why do I bring that up? Because I do have some concerns as well. Like everyone else, and you saw my live reaction, I got so excited when the Lion just showed up on screen, when the Dark Angel showed up on screen. I love when any chapter other than the Ultramarines get their time in the sun, so to speak, get their little spotlight on them. Of course, the Blood Ravens in the Dawn of War games have always gotten the spotlight because the Blood Ravens are a chapter that was created specifically, at least according to the internet, specifically for the Dawn of War games. Again, if I'm wrong with that, please let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, they were always like the main focus of the Dawn of War games. Now that they're bringing in the Dark Angels, and specifically the Lion, some people have raised concerns like, well, this is the first time, and I'm sure in that, I think, this is the first time that a Primarch, a Warhammer 40k Primarch, will be making an appearance in a video game. And even more so, it's the first time that it will be playable, because according to the game developers of Dawn of War 4, you will be able to play with Lionel Johnson, Primarch of the First Legion, and of the chapter of the Dark Angels. They did say that you can only play with him in PvE, which I honestly I don't mind. I guess it's a relief for balance issues and whatever. I suck at PvP in real strategy games. I'm great in other games, or not great, but I'm okay in other games. Just real-time strategy games or any sort of like real-time strategy game adjacent, or even MOBAs and things like that. I'm just horrible in PvP, specifically after a certain level, right? So I don't really care too much about balance, but I know a lot of people do, and fair enough. So yeah, well, it's a relief. However, some of the concerns that people have with this is like, okay, Primarchs, there's too much Primarchs in 40k now that 40k is becoming more mainstream. Primarchs are becoming more mainstream, and if we start seeing the Lion now in this somewhat mainstream video game, what does that mean for everyone else? Like, are they gonna keep bringing the Primarchs? And I've heard a bunch of people say, make the comparison that they have a feel of it just being like a Marvel movie, like the Avengers. Like, oh, the Primarchs is just like, okay, Hulk has a cameo in this movie, whatever. He jumps in, kicks, punches a couple of people, and then just leaves. And they just have like this superhero vibe to them. And honestly, that's a concern that I have too. And it's nothing particularly recent. I mainly started developing this concern back when I was reading the Horus Heresy, way back in the day when I started reading like the very first book in the very first books in the Horus Heresy. Not in the first trilogy, obviously, the Horus Rising trilogy, but later down the road, specifically when was it? The whole arc of Calf. I think it was called No Fear. No, it's not that one. No Fear is great, mind you. I really like that book. I mean, they're all great. What's it called? The name of the book escapes me, but there's a book in the Horus Heresy where, spoilers, Gilliman is trapped in Ultramar with no communication, and then Lionel Johnson shows up, and then Conrad Kors shows up, and then Vulcan shows up, and then at the very end Sanguinius shows up, or something like that. I don't know. It's just a mess of people showing up, and I think that's the first book where I really felt like, oh, the Primarchs are starting to feel a bit more goofy right now. And just so you know where I stand in this, me, like everyone else, absolutely loves reading about Primarchs. I love the Primarchs in general. I love some Primarchs more than others. But the reason that I love them so much is because any transhuman in Space Marine, I just find it, even the Mechanicus or the Adeptus Astartes, I don't know if the Mechanicus consider themselves transhuman, I would, or the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, whenever I read of them, what my brain is thinking is like, okay, this is so cool because this is what it's almost like a hypothesis, of what humanity could be if we mutate ourselves, basically, if we change ourselves, so that our brains are developed so much faster in this way or another. And that's probably, I'm originally a Dune fan, like Dune, the Dune books from Frank Herbert, and he does this like great exploration of what it means to be a human when basically you have superpowers in your brain, basically like a next step, evolutionary step in the history, the evolutionary line of humanity. You will be like one step ahead. And what would that look like? And I think Frank Herbert, I mean, I may just be looking at it with nostalgia, but from my point of view, he does an amazing job of picturing that, and he's not the only one. So the Space Marines and the Primarchs to me are very much the same, in the sense that I don't like them to be humanized. I like them to have human moments just to remind us that they come from a baseline blueprint of humanity, right? Like they started somewhat, their blueprint for their creation started someone off of a human. In the case of the Space Marines, they literally started just as like baseline mortals, humans, right? That get enhanced through very brutal normally means. The Primarchs are an entirely different thing. Like not everyone is entirely sure how they're made. There's some chaos, some warp stuff in them. Some people say like, oh, they have warp entities that got captured and whatever. It gets like the rabbit hole goes very deep, and I'm all for it. I love going down that rabbit hole myself. But my point is, they're mysterious. There's a mystique to them. At the same time, there's no way that these humans can think exactly like us, or these demigods in the case of the Primarchs, right? They're constantly called demigods for a reason. There's a scene in one of the books of the Horus Heresy where the lion is talking to Corsoin, I believe, or was it Sahariel? I don't know. The lion, like Lionel Johnson, the Primarch of the First Legion, the Darkangels, is talking to one of his homies, his homeboys in the bridge of the ship, and he's like, and the dude says like something to him or talks back to him, whatever, and the lion just like lays back and is like, bro, I can make cosmic calculations in my head of billions and billions of light years right now for ships to just traverse the galaxy or whatever. I obviously don't remember, this was many years ago that I read this, but it's just something that stuck to me, right? Stuck in my head. Like, oh yeah, that's right. This is not a dude, okay? This is a demigod. 99.9999999% of the things that you can tell them, they should have already thought of and processed and sort of like come to a conclusion of whatever you're gonna tell them before you even say it. Just because if our brain worked like 10 times harder, that's how it would work. Like they would have thought about not literally everything already, but just in comparison to us. To us, it would seem like baseline humans. To us, it would seem like, oh, this guy knows everything, just because whatever we can think of, more than likely they already thought of 10 times over. That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't like when Primarchs just get like extremely silly. For example, for me, it's a very delicate situation when an author in a Black Library book is writing through the point of view of a Primarch. Sometimes I just hate it when it's very goofy. I like it when it's done like artistically. I love it when it's done with with weight to it, even in moments of levity, right? And there's cool moments of levity with the Primarchs where you remember like, oh, they do come from humans, right? I always enjoy when like Conrad Kors, he's escaping with his few remaining warriors from the Isban massacre, the Dropside massacre, and at some point he just like lays back on his chair in his ship and just kicks his feet up and just starts chilling with them and joking with them. That's always nice to watch. I love when Lionel Johnson calls Corsoin like little brother and stuff like that. That's adorable. That's cool. And I love when Jagatai Khan is talking to Sue Elia, I think her name was. Just like she's kind of like a little sister and her grandmother at the same time. Again, it's adorable, and I love the interactions of Gilliman with his mother. But when you have Primarchs coming in and out of the story casually, almost casually, it certainly kind of devalues the idea of a Primarch in your head. More to the point, in the latest book, I won't go into any spoilers in this video, but in the latest book of hold on, let me see how long I've talked for. Okay, yeah, I have to speed this up. Sorry about that. I do ramble a lot. In the latest book from, what was it called? The Throne of Fire series or something like that. It's very telling that I forget the name of a series. I didn't dislike it. I just don't really remember. I read it all, and I don't really remember too many moments of it. But Dawn of Fire series, I got it. In the latest book of the Dawn of Fire series, I forget the name of the author. Apologies for that, but it's called The Silent King, I believe. And Gilliman makes he has an appearance, many appearances actually, in that book, and he just seems like a man child, and it's kind of embarrassing. There are cool moments, but at the same time, it literally just feels like I'm reading Thor, or not even like from the Avengers, right? And that's kind of like, sorry, some people are gonna hate me right now, but that's kind of like why I don't really like Lehman Ross and the Space Wolves. They just sound like a caricature to me, and I really need. Usually, I'll listen to the books on Audible, right? I really need in those moments the person who's reading the audiobook to give me like a very serious voice when he's talking like some of these characters, because what they're saying is actually ridiculous. Like if I just read it, it's just terrible. It sounds like a cartoon, and again, it's just embarrassing. It takes weight off of the world of the fantasy of Warhammer 40k. And I'm not saying this universe can't have moments of levity. I think the moments of levity actually are what make it bearable, so it should have them. But again, seeing a Primarchs appear and so on, when they do, if they're not treated like with a lot of seriousness and actual forethought of like Dune, for example. In Dune you have Muad'Dib. He's the Messiah. He was trained, he was raised to be a computer man. I forget what the oh god, how can I forget this? Okay, it escapes me. Of course, the more I try to think about it, the more I'm gonna forget. And I'll remember as soon as I stop recording this video. But he gets trained to be like a computer brain man. Something that. And he gets some training like as a Bene Gesserit, even though he's a dude. At the same time, to become the Quisacatharach or something like that. So he's basically a superhuman. Right, and he changes everything. He literally changes like the reality of whatever situation he's in just by having access to so many more senses, to so much more processing power in his brain than all the other humans around him. So that is cool. That is addressed with the weight that having. Let me pause right there. That having a Primarch, a superhuman, should be addressed with. So if the lion is making an appearance, I'm all for it. I will enjoy it. I will love playing as a lion, but I want him to be almost unrelatable for my monkey brain to understand how this guy thinks. Not entirely, not 100%, but perhaps 70%, 30% of whatever they do with the lion in general, not only in video games, but just in general, I want to be like, oh yeah, that 30%, I can see why. 70% to me, it has to be a mystery. Why? Because these creatures operate in levels that we can't understand. And that, I believe, would keep some of the mystique. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to see less of them. But seeing less of them and not seeing them very often certainly does help. I am scared. I love Primarchs, as I mentioned, but I am scared of Primarchs just popping back up in the 41st millennium, because that will remove a lot of eventually, and it's bound to happen, unfortunately, but that will remove a lot of the seriousness of that being a Primarch carries, right? I would love to see some Primarchs come back. I would hate to see some of them come back. I'm not gonna lie. Lehman Ross, please just be lost to Legend. I don't think there's anything cool they can do. But okay, I'm just gonna, I'm willing. If you disagree with me, I am totally willing to change my mind if you write it down in a comment. So yeah, that's one of the concerns. Now, the other concern is, will the Dark Angels be taking the spotlight too much from the Blood Ravens? And I think that's fair, but at the same time, I believe it can be done properly in a cool way, where it's like, okay, yes, they're gonna steal the spotlight from them because that's already happened. People have been talking a lot more. Even myself, I wasn't really talking about this game. Sure, I didn't have a YouTube channel. Like, I wasn't making videos then when they released it, but just people in general will talk more about. Have talked more about. The Dark Angels are in Dawn of War 4 than the Blood Ravens are in Dawn of War 4. I don't think that's a Dark Angel problem. I think that's a Blood Raven problem. I think that the Blood Ravens have become a meme after so many years of not having a new, at least good Dawn of War game that really progresses their story. So people just talk with this meme in their head of like, they just steal everyone's stuff. Ha ha ha, so funny. Yeah, it is a good meme. It is a funny meme. I do laugh a lot when I'm playing Space Marine and I see someone with a Blood Raven shoulder pad, but then he has an Ultramarine backpack and like a Blood Angels chest piece and something like that. As if they are stealing just from all the other chapters. That is funny. But you also need to understand that more likely than not arose as a game mechanic, because these guys didn't have enough lore to give it like enough lore to every weapon and item and stuff that they had. So in order to add more lore to that, to relate it to something that people would know from the universe of Warhammer, they had to say, to make it more interesting, this is Lehman Ross's, this is a Space Wolf's axe, and this is a Dark Angel's plasma gun, and this is an Ultramarines, I don't know, Good Boy Gold Star, whatever. I'm just picking on Ultramarines for no reason. That's the vibe that I got from like them stealing so many relics from other chapters, and to me that meme has been out, like it's already played out, and they really have an opportunity this time over to do something different with them, to do something interesting with them. Now, I'm not entirely closed. I hear the people saying, like, I understand why people say, like, the Dark Angels, great, they're stealing the game of the Blood Ravens now. First of all, yeah, maybe that could totally happen, and you're right to be concerned with that from my point of view. At the same time, the game's not even out yet. We don't know how much Dark Angels are gonna be there. We only know so far that they're gonna be a playable faction, and some missions you're gonna be able to play them as Dark Angels and others as Blood Ravens, I believe, which is interesting enough on its own. But the fact that you can choose will drive some people away from learning about the Dark Angels. Sorry, the Blood Ravens. That being said, it's not the end of the world. What I wish would happen is that they use a very, basically a legacy faction like Dark Angels. We're talking about the first Legion here, the descendants of the first Legion, a first founding chapter. And you could put basically any first founding chapter here, but specifically, I think like the top 3 have to be obviously Ultramarines, because they're everywhere and GW loves them and just puts them everywhere. The Blood Angels, which I also collect because I'm a Blood Angel fan as well, because I have to be. And the Dark Angels. I think those are the 3 most impactful ones. I would love to see even a first founding chapter that's well less known, like the White Scars, or the Iron Hands even. It would be so cool to watch the interaction between the Iron Hands and the Mechanicus that are in the game. Little things like that. I love all those chapters. But at the same time, that would defeat the purpose. More likely than not, the Dark Angels are here to attract people, which is already working. Now, there is a silver lining here. Is that the correct use of that phrase? I believe so. John French is said to be writing the story, or at least collaborating with the developers of this game for the campaign mode, for the story mode. And if that is so, I have a lot of faith in John French, for well-earned faith, I would say. Sure, like everyone else, he might have some books that I like less than others. He might have some books, that I like a bit less than others. For the most part, whenever John French has addressed, at least in the Horus Heresy, has addressed like Space Marines or Primarchs in general, he does what I told you that I like. He takes them very seriously. And more specifically, the Dark Angels. One of my favorite Dark Angels books was actually the book about Cypher, the Lord of the Fallen. Because in that book, it's not necessarily a Dark Angels book. It's like a Chaos Fallen / Fallen book. but the Dark Angels make an appearance there, and they're so cool, and they're so brutal, and they're so uh, stoic in that book, and they're so deeply they're so deeply focused on their convictions and their mission that they're intimidating. You're scary. I was reading through the book and I was thinking like, oh no, please don't run from the Dark Angels. Run before they find you, Cypher. And the book is just amazing. I really love that book. I might even review it some other time, even though I read it 2.5 years ago by now, probably 3. Not entirely sure, but it's an amazing book. And the last book that I read from John French is the Eastman Dropside Massacre. And oh my god, what a book. It's one of those books that I finished reading and I did not want to read anything next, because nothing that I could find to read next would have that same intensity, that same vibe, that same you can feel your heart pumping, your heart rate just going up and up and up as you're reading through a scene or listening to it. No other book did that. The one I'm reading now is the what's it called again? Archmagos something. What am I reading? Belisarius Cole, Archmagos. I'm not even halfway through the book. I'm not saying it's a bad book. It's just not doing the same to me that what the Eastman Dropside Massacre did. And that is a very specific scenario, because that moment in time is like a historical moment in the lore. It already has... Sorry, I stopped playing the trailer for some reason like 2 hours ago. Here you go, for your ADHD. Speaking of ADHD, sorry guys and girls. That moment in time, it's kind of a cheat code. Of course, you're gonna be interested in that moment in time. Of course, you're gonna be already biting your nails. Sorry. However, John French definitely cooked with that one. He definitely took it to the next level. I could have read a book that was two times or 3 times as long as that one, just based around the same subject, written by John French, and I would love to. I could have read a series, like a trilogy, of the Eastman Dropside Massacre, and yet I'm so glad that it was just this one standalone book and just leaves you wanting for more. I think that's a sign of a great book. That's very telling of a great book. Like, oh damn, like I really wanna, like, there's so much here, and at the same time so much happened in so little time. Anyways, I'm just glazing John French, because I really do like him. Some of my favorite moments in the lore are from his books, so I do have faith in this. And I could talk for hours about all this stuff. As you can probably see, I'm an absolute disgusting, sweaty nerd about Warhammer lore, even though I do have problems speaking in English apparently after a long day of working. But now what I would love to do is read your own comments about it, read your own theories. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think the role of the Dark Angels is going to be in this game? What do you think they're going to do with Lionel Johnson? Is he like just going to be appearing once and just destroying everything around him? Or are they actually just going to advance his story? Because, okay, quick pause here, quick break just before I end the video. I know it's too long already, but what is going on with the lore of Lionel Johnson? He gets revealed in the Arcs of Omen, just out of nowhere, comes back, kicks Angron's ass, which is sure, as Dark Angel fan, Lionel Johnson fan, I enjoyed. At the same time, what? Angron's, okay, like he just came back from retirement basically, and he kicks Angron's ass. It came out of nowhere, literally. And then he has a very interesting book, which I definitely enjoyed, where they go back, no spoilers in case you haven't read it, but this is almost 3.5, if not 3.5 years ago, if not 3 years ago. I don't know. Time gets weird when you get older, but it's been years ago, and literally the book ends where the Arc of Omen begins. So it is so confusing. Like, okay, yeah, he's back. Why is he back? What has happened since? Because he's in Imperium Nihilus. Imperium Nihilus. You know, for someone who listens to so much audiobooks about Warhammer, you would think I would know how to pronounce all these names, but no, my brain still thinks about how they're written, not how they're pronounced. Anyways, he's there. What is he doing there? What is going on? We need more. We need answers. We need him. I honestly, people say like, oh, he's gonna meet Gilliman. Of course, I will lose my S. I will lose my mind when they do meet. It will be iconic. I'm okay with them not meeting for the longest time, because again, that keeps the universe wider. It makes the galaxy feel bigger. Like, oh, this galaxy is so big that these two demigods have not had the chance to meet in so many years. I think that's cool. For example, it's not realistic necessarily, depending when you're looking at it from the lore point of view, because post a certain period in time, Gilliman is traveling, like in the devastation of Paul. He is coming in and out of Imperium Nihilus. But I am excited to see what they can do with the story from now on, and I really hope that at the very least this game, Dawn of War 4, teases what have the Dark Angels been up to, because we have had so many little information on that. So yeah, please, John French, please give us more of that. Please, you know how to cook. Don't let me tell you. I'm a horrible writer, so I won't give you any advice, but I do love your work. And yeah, now I would love to read your own theories. By the way, I know I just play this in the background just to have something, and just because I'm lazy and I don't want to edit this particular video, but I'm noticing so much cool stuff in this trailer. I would love, if I had more time, I would do like a frame by frame review of the trailer, like deep dive, and yeah, maybe I'll get to do that later. So that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna leave it there because it's long enough and it's a bit late. So thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below your own theories if you think I'm wrong, or if I am actually wrong, if you have proof that I said something wrong, whatever. I love being corrected. I love learning more about this universe. I've read literally 100+ books of Warhammer, and I still feel like there's so much more to learn, and that's the reason I love this so much. But I am not above like criticizing GW when they make mistakes, because as a Warhammer fan, sometimes life is good and sometimes you just gotta take it. There's nothing you can do about it. But anyways, thank you so much for watching once again. Please like and subscribe this video if you'd like to see some more content like this, and see you in the next one.